Welcome everyone to the 2020 APEC Groundbreakers Virtual Tour by APACO UC. This year our event will be the biggest one ever done with 174 sessions, including normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs from 123 different speakers over 11 days. Also, it will cover sessions on 4 different languages. Please remember to register to as many sessions you can, and all sessions will be available to replay as many times you want for 2 weeks after the initial session date and time. You can also interact with the speaker at any time during that 2 weeks by posting questions or comments directly in the playback session page. I would like to say thanks to our Oracle user groups and Java user groups that made this event possible, and also to our sponsors, Oracle Groundbreakers and CloudDB. Now for today's session, Oracle Jet and PWA, what are progressive web apps and why you should care, by Luke Bors. Please feel free to write questions at any time during your session by using the Q&A tab of the Zoom webinar. And Luke will be answering our questions at the end of your session, If any issues during the presentation, please feel free to contact me as the moderator by using the chat option of the webinar. That means any questions for the speaker, for Luke, please use the Q&A option. Any questions to the moderator for issues or anything else, please use the chat option. Now, without any more delays, I would like to leave you with this amazing session by Luke Bors. Luke, I am stop sharing my presentation, and you can now start sharing yours, and I'll put myself on mute.
Okay, if all is fine, I think you guys can see my screen. Welcome to my session, Oracle Jet and PWA, what are progressive web apps and why you should care. So, my name is Luc Bors. I work for eProceed. Throughout the world. Myself, I'm based in the Netherlands. eProceed is an Oracle award-winning partner, and we provide several kinds of services. Our support services for both applications and infrastructure. We have consultancy services where we provide end-to-end projects, do code reviews, and provide training. And we have several products and solutions. One of them is FSIP, which is a solution for central banking. I'm an Oracle ACE Director and Oracle Groundbreaker Ambassador. And at eProceed, I'm, as of June, I'm Head of Innovation, next to being Partner and Technical Director. I also authored a couple of books. The first one is about 5 years ago. It's on Oracle's mobile application development framework. And the other one is just recently released this year. It's about Oracle's digital assistant, the chatbot solution, enterprise chatbot solution that Oracle offers. So let's have a look at today's program agenda. I will start introducing PWA, Progressive Web Apps. Next, I will talk a bit about the basics of Progressive Web Apps. Then gradually shift towards Oracle Jet and how you can create Progressive Web Apps with Oracle Jet. And then add some device interaction to a Progressive Web App, and that's slightly different from what you might be used to do if you use mobile apps or hybrid mobile apps. And then obviously at the end, I will summarize everything that was in this presentation. So a couple of years ago, Alex Russell from Google, who is a lead for the PWA for the Google and tech lead for web standards, defined progressive web apps as not being just packaged and deployed to an app store, but it's just a website that took all the right vitamins and they progressively become apps. So just the name progressive web apps. Do you know what progressive web apps are? You might say, I have no clue what it is. Whereas on the other hand, I think everybody knows progressive web apps, maybe not from a technical perspective, but I think many of you are actually using progressive web apps without knowing it. So let's have a look at what I mean. It's quite simple. Look at Twitter. Twitter uses a progressive web app, Twitter Lite. What did Twitter want to achieve with it? First of all, they wanted to improve their mobile web experience. They want to reduce data consumption, and they wanted to re-engage users on the mobile web. All these goals, so faster, more reliable website, instant loading times for the users, can be achieved with progressive web apps. So Twitter decided to create one. Obviously, a great user experience, exactly what they needed. And how do you know if this was a success? I mean, successes can be measured, and that's what they did. The size of the app, back from 23 or even over 100 megabytes, downsized to 600K, which is an amazing decrease in size. Pages per session, tweets sent, bounce rate, all these numbers were improved by this progressive web app. So more pages per session, more tweets that were sent, and decrease in the bounce rate. 250,000 users launched the app as a native app directly from the home screen 4 times a day on average. And average load time compared to a real mobile app was reduced by over 30%. So these numbers actually tell the story about how successful progressive web apps can be if they were built in the right way. Same for Pinterest. There's many people that use Pinterest, and they also went progressive. Again, they wanted to improve user experience and to reach more users. And they wanted to change the fact that they had a very low conversion rate in signups. There was only 1% of all the users that signed up for Pinterest. Why? Well, most probably they thought it was because of the poor mobile web experience. So what did they do? They created a PWA to improve the web experience and to increase the number of signups. And from the docs, it says that they were able to create and finish this app in 3 months, which is rather fast. Again, here, is it a success? Look at the numbers. The size was down from 17 or 56 megabytes to 150 kilobytes. And a huge increase of new signups. I mean, if you see almost 1,000% year in, year out, it's huge. And in less than 6 months, they had about 1 million people using the PWA like it was a native app. Active users increased big time, and also the visits in the app were much longer than before. So, you know progressive web apps. You know Twitter Lite, you know Pinterest, and probably you're using a whole bunch of other progressive web apps without you even knowing it. So, from a user perspective, you know it, but also do you know it from a more technical perspective? Let's have a look at that. So, again, progressive refers to the fact that these apps introduce new features from the UI UX point of view, initially perceived as normal websites, but on behave more like mobile apps, and they are multi-platform. So progressively behaving like mobile apps. As I said before, that's where the name comes from, progressive web apps. So they build from technologies that you all know. It's HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You build websites with it. You build web apps with it. And also you can use these technologies to build progressive web apps. And if you do it the proper way, the look and feel and the functionality is very near, very close to actual native apps. And if you do some smart additions to your website, it will turn any website, almost any website, into a progressive web app. And compared to a native app, you can very quickly build progressive web apps. And I will get to that in a couple of slides from now. The difference between the progressive web apps and the native apps, and why it is easier and faster to build progressive web apps. Also, progressive web apps, they offer a lot of features like the native apps, such as push notifications, support for offline, device interaction. Everything that you would expect from a native mobile app can also be achieved with progressive web apps. So what's the difference then between native apps and progressive web apps? So first of all, native apps is built for a specific platform, and hence you have to use the programming language for that specific platform. So for iOS, you will use Swift. For Android, you will use Java. And for other platforms, again, the programming language that is used for that specific platform. So you need to know the technology to build these mobile apps, native apps. So if you want to have an app for multiple platforms, you need to know multiple technologies. So for, as I said, for iOS, Swift, for Android, Java. If you are a small shop, it can be a very, very expensive effort to create native apps for multiple platforms, because you have most of the time don't have all the resources, so you have to hire them externally. So again, money, money, money. There are shortcuts to that. So you could use one code base and then deploy it to multiple platforms. You could build hybrid mobile apps, but all of these have their own limitations. But as I said, for building mobile apps for multiple platforms, you need to know all the technologies, no easy way to build and publish them in the stores out there. Then there is the best of both worlds, progressive web apps. For instance, progressive web apps run in the browser. But if you first time open a progressive web app, you can save the app to the home screen. And from there on, it more or less functions like a native app. The progressive web app can access your hardware, and obviously also the underlying software. And the browser cannot access it. So progressive web app can do that, browser cannot. And if it's a properly built progressive web app, users have no clue. They just think it's a mobile app. Obviously, there's some caveats. Browsers have sometimes difficulties to adopt the technology. So there's still limitations. It's improving, but not everything works on each and every browser. iOS, everything you need doesn't really work seamlessly in Safari. Apple has some issues supporting the stuff, but if the community picks up progressive web apps big time, I think Apple has no choice other than support technology. So we now more or less discussed the difference between native apps and web apps. Native apps and progressive web apps. You know what progressive web apps are a little bit. Now, what if you need to build a mobile solution and you have to choose between either solution, so progressive web app or native? So here's a list with reasons why to pick either of them. So progressive web app, you can pick that solution if the app has to be easily distributed, if you have limited budget and time, if you need the app to be properly indexed on search engines for search engine optimization, PWAs, it just works great. Obviously, also PWA is cross-platform, and if you need to update everything in a tight time frame, then also progressive web apps can be a better solution compared to native. If you want to do a native app, you should pick that solution if you need to distribute the app via app stores. Progressive web apps don't ship in app stores, whereas native apps do. Speed and responsiveness. Obviously, if you build your mobile app in the underlying technology, so Swift for iOS, Java for Android, and if it's built specifically for the mobile platform, then it will be faster, more responsive. That's a no-brainer, but as I said, there's also drawbacks. Integration with the device, with the hardware of the device, if that is important, very important, and if the app requires that, then also going native might be a better choice. Then there's the business model. If you are paid per use, per download, in-app purchases also an option. That is then native might be a better solution. And integration with other apps, that is also currently still working better for native apps than for progressive web apps. So it's just a list with options. There's probably more, maybe less important options. But if you have to pick either PWA or native, have a look at this list and use it to make your choice. Let's have a look at the next point, which is the basics for progressive web apps. So if you build a progressive web app, what does it require from you as a developer? There's typically, to turn your website into a progressive web app, you need three things. You need a manifest file, you need a service worker, and you need a secure connection. Manifest file contains the information about your progressive web app. A service worker is a piece of JavaScript that actually is like a proxy between your browser and the network, and it can intercept all the requests that are made, and depending on network connectivity, route these requests either to the actual network or to the internals of the progressive web app. And then secure connection. PWAs only work on trusted connections. As it says, not only for security reasons, obviously very much for security reasons, but also it's a trust factor for users. If you have a trusted connection, users are probably more willing to use your progressive web app. So regarding all these individual building blocks, let's take some time to look at them one by one. First, the manifest file. So whatever goes into that manifest file, it's documented on developer.mozilla.org, where it says all the required contents for the manifest file. Stuff like app name, author name, icons, necessary resources. Everything goes into that manifest file. And you would typically serve it in the same location as where your index.html, so the entry page for your app, where that resides. And if you have the manifest in place, Google Chrome will automatically show a banner to install the web app on your device. So with a proper manifest, Chrome will already recognize your website as a progressive web app. I will show you. So the next thing is the service worker. Service worker, yeah, sorry. So that is a proxy between the browser and the network, as I explained. Runs from separate from the main browser thread. Can work for push notifications, background synchronization, caching, and as the diagram shows, it stands really between your progressive web app and the network, and does the proper routing. And they only run over HTTPS. That's because they can intercept network requests. They can actually modify responses, and if that is hacked, then it's really bad. So how do you know if your app is a progressive web app? As I said, Google can recognize it. They introduced the PWA standard, and they came up with Lighthouse. Lighthouse is an automated tool for improving the quality of your PWA. And you can run it also as an extension to Chrome. If you open the developer tools and you have the extension installed, if you open the developer tools on when you run the website, when you run the progressive web app in your browser, you can generate a report, and that report shows you everything regarding the PWA. It shows you performance, best practices, if it's a progressive web app or not, all of these things. If I have some time left at the end of the session, I can show you how that works. Now, with PWA a bit explained, let's have a look on how I used Oracle Jet and some more Oracle technology to build, deploy an Oracle Jet app and use it as a progressive web app. So this will have some quick walkthrough on how to do that, also on the infrastructure and deployment. So let me show you. So translating those progressive web app basics to Oracle technology, let's go first have a look at security, HTTPS on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, because I decided to run the app on OCI. So I created some compute instances, a load balancer, and I configured HTTPS on OCI on a load balancer. So the user connects to the load balancer, which then routes back to the actual app. So it runs over SSL HTTPS externally, and internally it's plain HTTP. But as far as PWA is concerned, the external connection from the user to the app itself is over HTTPS. So regarding the application Oracle Jet, it's easy. If you don't have Oracle Jet installed, it's simple to install. From npm, you can install the latest version of Oracle Jet, and then you can create a simple Oracle Jet app from the command line. That's all that it is. And for this presentation's purpose, I didn't go any further than just create a simple Oracle Jet app from the command line. So when you download the slides, you can use these steps to do actually the same effort as I did to create your basic PWA. Then, instead of putting everything on the computer instances, I use Docker. So I created a Docker container. I built the app in it, pushed it to my Docker repository. Once that was there on OCI, I did it the other way around. I pulled it into the instance, and I run the actual app in Docker. So these are Docker basics. It's not no rocket science here. Just created in Docker, and then you don't have to set up the entire Oracle chat infrastructure and everything on OCI. Just use the Docker instance and use the Docker container, and you can put it anywhere that you like. So with a simple Oracle chat application in place, how do you make sure it's a progressive web app? So first of all, you set up a trusted connection. So you need a certificate. There's many ways to get proper certificates. For demo purposes, I always use Zero SSL, where you can create your certificates for free. Works just fine. And these certificates can be installed on OCI, so everything is secured. So here you can see how to add the certificate to your OCI load balancer. You can just upload it, and it works. And if you run your Jet application then with the certificate installed, you will see the tiny log image indicating that it is a secure connection. So with that set up, we can have a look at the manifest file. So the manifest file, as I said, it describes the app: names, colors, URLs, icons, and PWA needs a minimum of 3 icons: one for your favicon, one for the app that is installed on your mobile device, and also one for a splash screen. So each mobile app PWA on your device shows a splash screen before opening the application, and that one also needs an icon. So you can figure all this out yourself, where to put it, how to put it, but you can also use appmanifest.firebase.com, which is a website that helps you to actually build the manifest and get the icons. It's you need to fill out the details, upload your icon, and what it then does is it just creates a zip file for you that you can download. And the content of the zip file can be added to your chat application. So your manifest, as I said, it resides in the same location as your index.html, and then it can be loaded just like that with a link referring to your manifest.json. So with that, it's all there, and we can look at the next step, which is the final part of your PWA, is to add a service worker. So the service worker can define the application cache, so the app will work offline. It will add an event listener that actually, it will get the cache, and it will redirect to your cache if needed. So on line 10, as I said, that's where it actually adds everything to the cache. It refers to files to cache, which are defined at the top of this code sample. So this code sample will only cache index HTML, the main.js, and the app controller, which obviously is not enough for running an entire app, but otherwise it didn't fit in the screenshot. And then the code starting at line 19 will get the response from the cache if needed. Okay. So obviously it needs to be registered in your main.js. So on load, simply register your service worker. So everything is there. Images are there. Manifest is there. Service worker is there. So this is all that is needed to turn your Oracle Jet app into a progressive web app. Now let's see if I can quickly go in and demo that. So how to open the app, add it to your home screen, and run it as an app. Okay. Let's see if my visor is there. Okay, it is. I should be able to connect my mobile device. There we go. I can add a new tab. Oh. That one, let's see. Yeah, no. Okay, so here is my mobile app, mobile website actually, and it's running in a browser. Now, if I go here and I say add to home screen, I can do it. So we'll be adding it to the home screen. Let's see what it tells me. It says added. As you can see, it says added to home screen. Here it is. Now let's see where it is. There it is. It shows you the splash screen. And now you see there's no more browser bar. It's just showing you a mobile app that has all the functionality that was also in the browser app. So with these small additions to your Jet web application, it turns into a progressive web app. And then when you load it in your browser, you can download it and add it to your home screen. Very simple, it works like that. Okay. Let's go there and see, back to the presentation. So that was a very simple one. Now let's see if we can make that application a bit smarter and add some device interaction to the progressive web app. So typically what you would do in a Oracle Jet hybrid mobile app or any other kind of hybrid mobile app, you could use Cordova. So add the plugins like Cordova plugin for the camera and Cordova plugin for the geolocation. You can also all do that from the command line with OJ add plugin and then the name of the plugin. You can find all the available plugins for Oracle Jet on the website that is on this slide. However, it's the limited amount of plugins that are available. All the open source plugins, they need community support, which is also decreasing because people are gradually moving away from using Cordova plugins to other solutions. So for progressive web app, this is not the way to go. But then can we still add device interaction? Well, obviously asking the question is already answering it. So yes, we can. We can add GPS So instead of using the Cordova plugin, use the navigator. So navigator.geolocation.get current position to get access to GPS. Navigator.media devices get user media, and then say video access the camera as a video stream. And will this work like that? I mean, it's an app, so typically users will not automatically grant you access to these device interactions. So you need to ask permission. So again, from navigator, media devices, get user media, and then add the constraints to it, and user will be prompted to grant permission to use of the camera, for instance. So here it's a very simple code sample, OracleJet HTML code sample, where I have a button that says get geolocation, and then I show the latitude and the longitude. And to actually get that location, the action that is here in the button, it refers to a JavaScript function, which does a get location. And as you can see, it refers to the navigator or geolocation and then get current position. And it returns the latitude and the longitude and puts it into two observables. So if you run that first time, it says, oh, your app wants to use your location. If you grant permission, it will show you location. Sorry, it will show you location at your current GPS coordinates. Look at camera interaction. It's more or less the same. If there's a camera available and if the user allows the usage, then you can start a video. So here it says if there's devices available, and then on the line navigator.media devices.get user media constraints is, does the user allow you to use it? And if so, then you can stream the video. All of this works pretty smooth if all the settings are correct. And these are settings that are dependent per device. So as a developer, you don't have any control on that. But I stumbled into it when I tried first time to install and use the app on my device. So it's all in Chrome. So you need Chrome to get access to the location, to the storage, to the camera. If you don't do that, so here it says camera is blocked, then there's no way that you can use the camera. So you need to enable all of this. So then offline functionality. So as I said, the service worker intercepts the network request and modifies the response. So we reroutes your request to the cache if that is needed. So you need to cache the resources that you want to use in the app. And in the initial code sample that I showed you, I only had the top 3 of this list, which is the index.html, main.js, and app controller. But you also need to cache all your parts of your app in order to make it work. So add all these files to cache and then read it from the cache if your request matches something that is in the cache. So let's have a look if this actually works in the demo that I previously showed you. So here again, you see my device. Let's see if I have it up and running. This is the mobile app. So let's see if the video is working. Capture video. There's the video. You can actually see a video in video and video like this. So there's my coffee. Works fine. Video is working. Let's have a look at the geolocation. Can I get it? Yes, I can. Now, that's all fine. Whoops. That's not fine. But, okay, there we are. This is all while connected to a, well, not Wi-Fi, but to a 4G network. What if I turn this off? Mobile data off, done. So now there's no more network connection. Can I still use the app? Apparently I can. Pfizer says it's wireless, but I don't have any connection here. Anyway, can I still capture the video? Yes, I can. Can I still access my geolocation? Yes, I can. So that's all good. App works offline, app works online. So my progressive web app is just doing everything that I expected. So let's quickly summarize what we just saw. Pros and cons of progressive web apps. So the pros: no need for platform-specific things, no need for Cordova plugins or any SDKs. You just use plain HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and the navigator functionality to get access to device. It's not packaged. It's not deployed through stores. It's just you who deploy the app and make it available to your users. It's relatively cheap for obvious reasons. You don't need multiple developers, multiple code bases, multiple technologies that you use. If you have a team that knows how to build websites, web apps, then the on-ramp to building progressive web apps is not that difficult. Also, they can be found by search engines because they are progressive web apps, and they are indexed by search engines. Are there any cons? Yes, obviously. Browser support is still improving, needs to improve, because not all the browsers support it. I showed you on Google Chrome. I can also show you on Safari, on Firefox, on the Samsung mobile browser. It all works, but not everything works. Same goes for the devices, where browsers don't fully support PWA. Some devices might also not support all the PWA features. Another thing, it's not packaged and deployed through an app store. Is it a con? Depends on your requirements. I showed you previously all the options that you need to consider, all the choices that you need to make if you want to decide between a progressive web app and a mobile app. If you need to be paid per download, or you have in-app purchases or pay per use, stuff like that, then deployment through an app store is probably better, and then it's a con of progressive web apps that you cannot do that. Also, there is no body of control, which means there's nobody who actually checks whether or not your progressive web app is a good app, a proper app, if it meets all the security measures, if it's using all the guidelines, for instance, by Apple or by Google. No control. You're in charge. You have to do your job. Always have to do your job good. But if you want to do the app, use the app store, people will check if you did it. And if you don't use the app stores, then you have to check yourself. So to summarize it, it's rather easy to develop progressive web apps. Just take some simple requirements, HTTPS, manifest, service worker. Setting up HTTPS, well, I say it can be challenging because it's not necessarily a developer task, but then again, we as developers are doing more and more stuff, also from a DevOps perspective. So just need to know how to do it, and then you will get there. You have easy access to device features with progressive web apps functionalities. But still, again, there's some quirks needed depending on what browser and on what device you are using. So with that, it's time to take some questions. I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Hi, no questions at the moment. I cannot see anything coming from the Q&A.
Nope.
But the good thing is the playback option will be available for 2 weeks from now, where the people will be able to watch your session for 2 weeks and review as many times they wanted to clear any doubts they have, but they will also be able to post questions in the playback page, and you will be notified every time someone posts anything in the session page. And of course, you will be able to reply at your convenience.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Luke, for the excellent presentation, and wish you a fantastic day. Be safe.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. It was fun, and I hope to meet you all in person soon.
Fantastic. Hopefully, all this pandemic chaos is over soon.
Yeah, much more fun. But again, then this is how we do it now, and at least it gives an opportunity to share knowledge and to learn new stuff. So
fantastic.
It's good.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.